Yeah. Hi everyone, Sammy J here from Nature Kids Club, and today joining me I have Nova, and we're here to teach you about beeswax wraps. Our current module that we're looking at and studying in our course at the moment is Produce No Waste. So this is a fantastic way to get rid of cling wrap, because anything that cling wrap can do, beeswax wraps can do, but better. Because we're using natural products, we're using the beeswax, which has like a protective shield in it, so it'll help keep your food, keep bacteria away from the food for longer, help keep our food fresher longer, all those wonderful things. And as your beeswax wraps start to break down and change, because the wax will start to deteriorate and there'll become little gaps and your material will be exposed again, you can just redo this process. Or if you live in the really hot place, which I used to do in Townsville, it's a very, very dry tropics, I would put it out in the midday sun, and that heat in itself would help re-melt the wax and fill all those little gaps. So cool. So there's a few recipes out there. Some people call for using like a pine resin or using oil. We just like to keep things simple. Hey Nova, we use one thing, and that's from the good old bees, beautiful beeswax. We also like to use our pinking scissors. These are a new find for me, only a few years ago, learning all about craft and sewing. But they create this beautiful edging that you'll see on our material, which prevents the fraying from happening, as well as making it look very fancy and snazzy. Yes, yes. So I'm going to take them now and make this piece of paper just a little bit smaller. It's not paper, it's material, but I'm going to make it a little bit smaller so it fits on our baking sheets. So we need our fabric. Really love to use organic, natural fibers and fabrics. They will hold the wax for longer, I have found. They absorb it much quicker. Need some baking sheets, as we're providing 3 different ways in our program of how to make these beeswax wraps. One is on the stove top, another is actually using the oven and using a tray, and they're heaps of fun. They can be a little bit more tricky and a little bit more messy if you've got young people helping you as well. So we're keeping it as simple as possible. Baking sheet, beeswax, fabric, and a beautiful iron, which we're going to get to really soon. But first, the first step, once you have your paper and your station set up, the next thing that we do is we need to grate some wax straight onto our beeswax sheet. So I just got myself a grater from the op shop, and it's a dedicated beeswax grater now, of course. It does look like cheese. Very hard cheese, which makes it easier to grate because it is so hard. Sometimes when cheese is really soft, it falls apart in your hands. You want to make sure your paper is clear from anything else. I can see a few little bits and pieces have fallen onto our sheet. So we're just going to spread that out and then place our sheet on top. So with this technique, when you place the iron down, of course it's going to flatten it, and then when the wax melts, it all spreads out. So I found that it's nice to start with the wax in the center, and then you can sort of guide it out and guide it back in as you go. Do you use beeswax wraps, Nova?
Yeah.
Yeah? What do you use them for?
For my lunchbox.
Ah, so you
Sometimes.
wrap up some food and take it
Like a
and
sandwich or something.
put it in your lunchbox for school. We have lots in our fridge, don't we? For all those leftovers or any planovers, we wrap them up in the wraps and put them in the fridge. Do you want to tell our friends how we use them? What do you do when you go about a beeswax wrap? How do you make it fit over your bowl or fit over your sandwich?
You can just wrap it up, and then if there's a bowl, you can put it over and it's really small. You just put it over the top.
You can, can't you? You could do that. And another way is, like you said, you just use it. You just wrap it up. And most of the time, the heat from your palms is all that's needed to mold it around the bowl or mold it around the piece of fruit or the vegetable. Don't need too much more at all. And then when you put it in the fridge, it just sets and goes hard. Done. Then when you take it off your food and you want to clean it, you just use lukewarm water. You can use a little bit of soap if you like, but it does not need much at all. Quick and easy, and then rinse it off with cool water and then let it set it aside to dry. Okay, that looks like pretty good coverage. So we see how we go. Put this one on top, create a sandwich. Move the grater out of the way.
This is the fun part.
Yeah, this is the fun part. Before we start ironing and getting the heat involved, it's really important to have your drying station set up. So this is just a clothes rack that we use. The beauty of this technique though is that you can leave it on the sheet to dry as well, just lifting it when we're finished to give it a little shake and a little bit of a help, and then you can just leave it on your sheets. But if you're going to do a lot, it's really important to have this already set up. Alright, so let's get started. The iron was put on previously for me. It's ready to go. Straight down. Can you see it melting, Nova?
Mm-hmm.
What tells you that it's melting?
Because all the big chunks are going away.
Mm-hmm.
It's all oily.
Can you also notice something else as it's slightly changed colour?
Yeah.
I think we've judged our wax well too. There's not too much going over to the sides. So once that heat does its job, the wax is going to move really quickly and really quite easily for you. And the change of colour in the material is the easiest way to see if it's reached all parts. That looks really great on that side. So I'm going to twist this over. That's why we've got the towel down as well. It acts as that extra protection. Catching the wax, but also catching any heat as well. So the few tips with using the baking sheets is that the wax will tend to run away from you a little bit. So if you're wanting more wax on your wraps, just try to keep feeding that wax back in. That's finished. I'm going to let it dry just a smidgen so it starts to set. And then slowly the unveil. Shall we go from this corner so that everyone can see? Oh, that's still drying. I'm going to let that set just for a few more seconds. I'm getting excited. I just want to pull off the top layer.
It kind of looks like my mom makes this icing and it kind of tastes like a lemon, but it's not really
It looks a little like that, does it?
it's
This looks quite delicious too. Like Nova said, it looks like it's coated in some kind of yummy food. This is quite thin, so I don't find this in any way painful. The heat is not substantial in any way. So the colouring's got a lot to do with the wax. You know, how old the wax is, how long you've had it, how it's been filtered, where the bees have collected their pollen from. Oh, I didn't leave it long enough. There's that little bit of impatience. We'll just let that dry just a smidgen more. But the beauty of it is, if there's any mistakes, if there's gaps in the material, iron again. I can feel the heat, and because the material is so thin, I'll just wait a moment. This will be one that I will redo. I've been a little bit too impatient, my friends. And there's a little gap in our material just there. You can see that. We don't want that to be touching our food. That is another reason why different recipes call for using resin. The resin will add to that thickness and it adds to the tackiness of the material and the wrap at the end. But for me, I just like to use what I have really easy access to. I have a really good relationship with a local beekeeper, so I'm extremely fortunate to get honey and beeswax from a local beekeeper. And we're fortunate enough to know where all the hives are and what different nectar the bees are feasting on. And with the material, sometimes I love going to the shops and buying all the cut-offs, and then that way you get all these funky bits of material. But again, producing no waste, rather than throwing away our bed sheets, rather than throwing away maybe a really nice shirt that's made out of organic cotton or some beautiful linen or something that you would really like to hang on to. You can just take your scissors and cut it to size. You go through your kitchen, check out what pieces of crockery that you actually want to cover, what are your favorite bowls, what are your favorite dishes, and you can cut them to size as well so that you can just make this for exactly how your household will use them. We use them for different things as well. My daughter will use them when she gets a bunch of flowers and puts the wet newspaper inside the bees wrap, and then we'll tie that with a piece of string so that makes a beautiful bouquet, and it's also a gift as well. These make such beautiful gifts, and a really lovely way to present them is to actually roll them up. Sometimes we fold them, but then those creases will come in there really quick and the beeswax goes off the material. So we roll them up, and yeah, that's a really lovely way to present them as well. We need to wait for that to cool down. We'll do a little time lapse. We'll put it on the dryer. Oh, it's still so warm, isn't it? It is nice. Should we try again?
Yeah.
I'm so keen, I want to try again. I'm so keen, I want to try again. So you have a leftover smoothie, leftover fruit salad, something's in there. We'll just take the beeswax wrap straight over the top, the warmth of your hands. And if that needs to go in the fridge, it's going to set so hard. And that, yeah. Then we just take, look at this, it'll just come off still in its mold. That's what I love about the wax. Oh, and you have your own cup. This is sealed now. Beeswax will create a seal for us, darling. That's the beauty of it. It's breathable, so that's why our fruit and vegetables will last a little bit longer, but it also provides a protective shield so that it's stopping any bacteria, any germs, or any nasties getting in there as well.
And flies.
And flies. Good one, like that fly right there. Go away, fly. Shoo, fly. So that's our beeswax wraps. I don't think there's anything else we've left out, but if you have any questions, please let us know. We'd love to help. Until next time,
Keep playing.